Hey, what's going on, guys? Transformer Chris here. I just wanted to share with you all something that I'm reflecting upon in my notes that I believe is really good. Like, it was good when I wrote it down months ago, but the fact that it's still just as impactful now and jumping off the pages to me, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share this piece of information because this is something that can really bless people. And I also want to encourage you all, anytime God drops a tidbit in your spirit, to write it down. I don't want you to fully rely on memorization because your mind will fail you. It's so many times that I'll be going over my notes and I'll be in shock, like, wow, I wrote that. So that lets me know that if I'm, in shock that I wrote that, then that means it couldn't have been in the forefront of my mind. So I try not to rely solely on that. I make sure that anytime God gives me something, I write it down, because if God gives you something, he's doing it with purpose, right? And God won't always give you the full picture up front. He'll give it to you in pieces. But if all you have is the current piece because you neglected to write down the pieces before, or you forgot about them, then your picture will never come into fulfillment, right? It will never come into its totality because you don't have all the pieces. So I just want to encourage you guys to make sure that you write it down, because I'm telling you, when you go back and look upon that stuff, you'll be surprised at how much God gives us. And it will even surprise you of how many things that, you lost sight of because you didn't write it down. But when I was going over my notes today, one of the things that I came across was this quote that I wrote, right? And the quote says that they'll easily mistake your identity if you never embrace who you are. And when I wrote that quote, I wrote it because I wanted women to understand that who you are in this, and this could be woman and men, but my brand is Transformer Chris, so I'll be speaking directly to women a lot of times. But I wanted women to understand that who you are at the core is suffice, right? In this world that we live in, who God created you to be is good enough, just as you are, without the additives and without the takeaways. So you don't have to try to pump yourself up to make yourself seem more than what you are to fit into any classification group. You don't have to dumb yourself down so you don't feel like the know-it-all in the group and you feel like they'll be more accepting of you. Because I want you to understand that anytime you have to show up in any room, in any circle, around any group of people as anything other than your authentic self, then the real you was never really accepted, because the real you never showed up, right? So I want you to understand that in order for your authenticity to ever have a chance in this world, you have to begin to introduce the world to who you really are unapologetically. And believe it or not, there are so many people in this world that need the real, true you to show up. Because the thing is, we don't need carbon copies, right? We don't need fraudulent people. We need who God really made you to be, because like I said, God does everything with purpose, right? For a purpose. And I want you to understand that you have purpose. So to you, it may seem irrelevant, but to the next person, it may be exactly what they need. So I want you to have confidence in who you are and who, God made you to be. And it's something I want to share with you in regards to some of the things that can happen as a result of us showing up as anything other than ourselves. And one of the things is people will develop a false narrative in regards to who you really are. So it will cause you to have to put up a lifetime facade of being something other than the person that God created you to be. And that could be exhausting and become very overwhelming. So you can feel like that you're lying to people and putting up this facade now, and later you can take the mask off. It doesn't work like that, because if you're getting into these circles and you're getting yourself into these rooms as a person that you aren't, truly, that God didn't truly make you to be, you have to live up to that lie. So now you're living a lie, right? And we know that God is not the God of lies. The Bible says that Satan is the father of lies, right? So Satan will begin to make you put on this false identity. And believe me, he has an agenda. And that's another thing that I have written down here. One of the things that I have is the blessing is attached to who you are, not who they want you to be, not who you would like to be, not who you pretend to be. The blessing is attached to who you are. to who you are. So, as being a child of God, there is an inheritance that is afforded to you, right? So I want you to think about it in terms of a will. If you know somebody that has a will, what they'll do is they'll put in their will a list of inheritance that people will get when they're dead and they're gone, right? So as children of God, we have an inheritance that is afforded to us, but it's only attached to the real us showing up to claim what rightfully belongs to us, right? Somebody cannot come and pretend to be you and reap the benefits of your blessings. It doesn't work like that, because that's called false identity, right? And it's punishable by law. So it works the same way. If you're showing up as anything other than yourself, trying to reap benefits of a person that you are not, that is a punishable crime by law, right? And not only that, the things that rightfully belong to you, you can't take claim of because you're not showing up as that person. So it is important, if you want to reap the true benefits of God and then reap that inheritance that has your name on it, you have to begin to find comfort in who you are and who God made you to be, and start showing up at that as that person, so that those blessings can be released to you. And another thing I wanted to point out is that perception has a voice. So if you never take claim of who you really are, what you're doing is you're presenting the world with an open-ended question, and you're leaving it up to people to use their creative imaginations to fill in the blanks. So this is how people will begin to have false narratives attached to who they are, and people will start calling you whatever they want to call you, labeling you as things, right? Putting you in classification groups that is not suitable to who you are, because they don't really know, because you never set the tone. So they'll begin to make it up, and it's all a result of us leaving things open-ended because we were never comfortable with who God made us to be. So I just want, to say that to you all, anybody who may be dealing with anything concerning identity, with not knowing who you are, or, showing up as somebody that you're not, thinking that you're getting over. I want you to understand that God has a purpose for you, right? And God is not a God that will be mocked. So if you have it in your heart to believe that God made a mistake and he somehow needs your help, you're living a life in error, and you will have to deal with the consequences of that. So I just wanted to, share with you all and remind you all that God don't make mistakes, and he do everything well. He does everything with purpose. So who you are authentically at the core has meaning, has purpose, and will benefit this life if you begin to let it out and give yourself permission to be you. You are greater than what you can ever imagine, right? And I want you to tap into that person, find out who that person is, because sometimes we can go so far left that we don't know how to get right. So I just want to encourage you all to begin to do some internal investigation, find out, who you are at the core, find out the things that make you thrive, the things that you are passionate about. Go back to all of those, like I said in the beginning, just those little tidbits, those nuggets that God be dropping in your spirit all along. Start writing that stuff down, because even when you begin to read over those things, God will begin to show you meaning and purpose regarding it. I never knew that months from now I will go back over these notes and feel led to, go minister and speak to people that may be suffering from identity crisis, right? Or may not be sure of themselves, or may be in a battle in their head, and then their hearts concerning who God has called them to be. Some people really think that God may have made a mistake. Some people really think that they don't belong. Some people really feel like they don't fit in. But I want you to know that you were made unique, and we were all made different for a reason, because it was never for us to fit in, but to stand out, because it's something unique about you that you have to offer the world that nobody else can. But if you're not confident in who you are, you could die off without ever releasing to us that thing that only you can give us, that could be something that blesses us all. So I just want to encourage you to, stand true to who you are and be you unapologetically, and go out and introduce the world to the person that God created you to be, and just see how far that goes, right? See how many people is blessed as a result of it. See the genuine connections and relationships that you formulate as a result of that, and it will be a domino effect. This same thing that I'm teaching to you, once you begin to put it into practice and it starts blessing your life, you can go on and you can teach it to somebody else. And before you know it, we got so many people set free just off a small conversation of being true, being unique, and being who God called you to be. Because a lot of people suffer from trying to be somebody that they are not, because the world will put so much pressure on you. It'll make you believe that you're not good enough. But I want you to know today that, baby, you are more than enough. Who you are at the core is suffice and good enough, and we need you, sis. All right, that was all, y'all. So I'm out of here. Bye.